You are listening to a Called Collective podcast where we seek to equip the next generation of ministry leaders. The Called Collective produces multiple podcasts, which you can find in the description below. To learn more about the Called Collective, visit our website at thecalledcollective.org or check us out on Instagram at The Called Collective.
What's up, guys? This is Coffee and Calling, where we just chat over coffee. I'm one of your co-hosts, Isaac.
I am Noah Yearout, and thank you so much. Sit back, enjoy, and come along for the ride. We're back. Isaac, how you doing, man?
I'm freaking great. Dude, I got my hot chocolate. I know it's Coffee and Calling, but screw coffee.
Did you get coffee, Seth?
I got black coffee.
Wow, you're
that's
a
a
man.
man's man. You got
Yeah.
chest on that hair?
You got
What
some
the
hair
heck?
on that chest?
If there was some hazelnut cream, I would have used it.
Oh,
Mm.
wow.
Wow.
Well, we kind of just introduced. Who do we have? Who's our guest?
I don't know.
Okay. We got 4'0" Seth Maxwell here.
Seth, how many times on a given day are you asked how tall you are?
Well, the real question should be how many times do I get asked? How many times a day do I get the question? And
Really?
that answer.
Oh, people ask you the question
yeah.
that he just asked more.
Oh, yeah. But I usually answer it by saying it depends on the context. So if I'm at like the mall, like 30. If I'm at IWU, maybe once or 0.
Mm.
If I'm at a familiar place, they might not ask.
You
me.
know,
people
I'm be honest. Like, older people just say whatever they want. They don't care. They're completely out of pocket sometimes. I could totally seeing little Grandma Sue walk up to Seth in Walmart, be like, what? And they say something. They have some special saying or phrase that they use a lot.
I'm
something.
interested to see what
They-
you're going to say that they say.
And they're like, well, shucksy darn, how are you so tall up there? You know, like,
Shucksy darn.
No,
They-
the classic old person comment is, "How's the weather up there?"
Yeah,
I'm like, it's
yeah.
pretty good. You know, the air's a little thin.
You should just be like, it's raining.
Yeah,
Just start
that's a
spitting.
bad one.
That'd be
My mom said, "The weather's fine up here, but the trash around my feet is bothering me."
Wow.
She told me to
Wow.
say that. I was like, "No,
That's loving.
that's not very nice."
That'd be Jesus. And you're called? Wow.
Anyways, Seth, give us a little background and we'll need to know about who you are. Obviously, Isaac and I know you too well, so we gotta get some insight into those that are listening.
My name is Seth Quinton Maxwell.
Mm.
My middle name is important. It means 5. I'm the 5th child in my family.
Oh.
Is that actually how they did it?
Yeah, apparently
So
Quinton
is-
means 5, and I was
Is
the 5th
the
child.
fourth one
No,
like quad?
it was just us. Quad. Yeah,
I'm
Evan
fine.
Quad Maxwell, quadricep. No, I'm Seth Quinton Maxwell, and I got married this summer, as you guys know,
Yes,
to Elias
sir.
Gretchen Maxwell.
Does
She's
her middle name have
wonderful.
significance as well?
No, it sounds kind of German or
Gretchen.
Russian or something. But anyway, I was raised by my dad, who actually works at IWU. He was a play director and a professor, and that kind of played into my artsy side, not just an athlete, as some people think I might be.
Yeah. Tell a little bit about that. You're an athlete and you have an artsy side, as you just said.
Yeah, well, my dad always played piano. He was a worship leader, so I got into playing piano. That's probably my favorite thing to do is just play piano. I want to take some lessons because I haven't taken lessons since I was like 13, but play piano all the time. I was going to be an art major when I came to IWU. I don't know if you guys knew that.
I did not know that.
So I was a painting minor for a little bit, but I had to drop it because the classes are so long and they require so much work. And with basketball, it was just kind of hard to balance.
Yeah.
So I tried a business major and I took accounting and I wanted to rip my eyes out. So like microeconomics.
This is how I figured out
and
I was
accounting. Seriously though. And I remember, so I was like considering changing my major and I was like praying about it and stuff. And that's actually when I met Elias around that time. And I had accounting homework that I had to get done, but I wanted her to come visit because she's from Muncie, so she had to drive. So I was like, Lord, if you want me to change my major and drop this class, just please make it clear. And I just was like, felt peace about it. I was like, I'm changing my major. I'm going for ministry. I'm changing it. I'm dropping this class. I texted Elias. I was like, you can come over now. And I dropped the class and everything. So
There we
that's
go.
like the odd journey of how I got into ministry. I think when I was a kid, I remember my mom recently showed me this little drawing I made when I was a little kid that had a picture of like little stick people and a guy in front, and it said, when I grow up, I want to be a pastor. And,
Wow.
And I think my second oldest brother used to always call me a pastor, but I kind of ran away from it. I was like, I'm not a pastor. I don't think I can do that. I'm not like good enough person for that, I think. And I feel like I ran away from that calling for a really long time. So it was a big step for me to actually change my major to ministry.
Yeah.
And it was worship ministry. And I think I wasn't thinking about the music side. I think I was thinking about like, arts as worship. Like what is worship beyond just singing and music and stuff. So it's kind of how I got into ministry. And I'm also a basketball player. I think I barely touched on that, but I think that's a big part of my life. And I'm also called to be a professional basketball player. I don't know how long, but that's my plan for next year.
Wow. So, I mean, you kind of just hinted at that. With you talk about how being young, right? Drawing. So, like, it's, if anything, faith has been a part of your life, right? Growing up in that, and then coming here, and then switching it. What year were you when you switched into
Sophomore year.
Sophomore year. Solid.
You want to know a crazy story?
Sure.
So his sophomore year is our freshman year, because he's.
Shoot, dude, I forgot that you were a year older than us.
So I go to Awaken it's like my freshman year. I think it's like the fall semester or whatever. And because I had a buddy of mine that was on the leadership team, so he's like, "Hey, come out. Like it'd be dope for you to come out and see what Awaken's all about." I'm like, "Cool." So I go there, and then the person on the stage goes, I don't even know if you remember this, but they go, "Does anybody have any praises recently?" And I think it was Elias turns and goes, "This guy's going into ministry," or something like that.
way.
And I look up and it's Seth Maxwell. I have no idea who he is. He's just sitting at the very top row, just hanging out. And he's like, "Yep, going into ministry." And that was like,
I don't even remember that.
that was probably like almost around that same time that you switched from art to ministry.
Yeah.
But I had no idea who you were. I just looked up and I was like, that's the strangest thing I think I've ever been a part of.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it was
That's
awesome.
support and encouragement right
Elias
there.
is bold.
Yeah.
He doesn't care.
And I think that was the
It's
part that I
awkward.
was like, that I have never witnessed that before. Just someone else edifying God, hey, this is what God's been doing in somebody else's life, and I saw it, which I think in and of itself is a valuable lesson to learn.
Yeah,
But yeah,
exactly.
crazy little story there, Seth.
I forgot about that.
But
I mean, it made an impact on you. That's incredible. But what I want to know is, obviously, you talked about basketball being a part of your life, and you're good. God's gifted you with that. But obviously, it's not your identity, because you took this entire time to get to that point that you play basketball, And so from having this worshipman, right, and going to play, try to play pro overseas, how do you get there? How has God led you through this time here? Obviously, to worshipman your second year, then growing you in there, and then now it's like, no, I'm going to go overseas.
Yeah.
What does that look like? How God got you there, and kind of what your first thoughts are about that.
Yeah. So I've been playing basketball for the longest time. I think like coming from a family that didn't really play any sports. My dad never played sports. He's a pretty tall guy, but he was never into sports. So I was never like pushed towards that direction. But I think just natural height kind of pushed me in that direction. And I always enjoyed it. I'm still not the most competitive person when it comes to basketball, but I know I'm gifted in that way. I know I'm called to give my all on that. So that led me to college. I think for a while I wanted to go D1 NCAA. Like I just thought that was what it was. I was like, that's the plan. So I don't know if you guys know this. So like I'm 24 because I took an extra year of high school. So I took a prep year after senior year to try to get like high major D1 offers. And at that same time, my brother was at Kansas and he transferred to IWU because it wasn't.
I heard about that story. I remember coming in and they're like, dude, our basketball team's insane. Mango, Kyle Mangus, all this stuff. And they're like, then we got a guy transferring in from Kansas. And I was like, what? And it's his brother.
Yeah, so he transferred, and I was like, I don't think I'm going to go there. It's like a small-time school, NAIA. I didn't even know what NAIA was. Like, I never heard of it.
Nobody does.
And I think that 1 year at that, like, secular school kind of made me realize, like, I need discipleship, and I need a Christian school. And I was praying about it, and I just felt so much peace about coming to IWU. I didn't know why. Like, I thought I was going D1 the whole time, but I ended up coming here, and, like, just the discipleship that has happened, and I think it's just like preparing me for professional basketball. It's teaching me how to lead in a secular environment. It's teaching me how to, create the foundation of my own character and bring it to a secular environment without stumbling into that environment. So I think just this 5 years at this point, because my COVID year has just prepared me. And I don't know, like I haven't been on a secular team or in a secular environment in a while because I've been here for 5 years. So I knew back in the day, like I couldn't really handle it as much. I kind of wanted to fit in, but now I think I'm a little more prepared to go in there and be strong in my faith and hopefully like lead a lot of people to Christ and let it be a ministry rather than just a job. And I want to continue growing in my like ability to preach and stuff. I want to find opportunities to preach in other countries and stuff, wherever that may be, Italy or Spain or something. Cool.
Hey, if you ever go to Spain, let me know because that's where I might end up.
Oh, that's awesome.
That'd be sweet. But I think it'd be cool to talk a little bit about how, because the stories that we hear from Coach Tonigo with the basketball team, and I am third, and just your guys' culture. Like, I don't know if you guys know this, but many other teams here try to use that as an example of, okay, how do we build this culture in ours? That's what our coach is doing as he's kind of rebuilding in tennis as he's the new coach. He's like, how do I build a culture like that? Or like the softball team when they go nationals and baptize people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How do we build this culture? So what have you learned the most from, whether it is Coach T, Coach Clark, or whatever, just from the basketball program that has influenced you so much?
Yeah, I think the first thing that comes to mind is just like this idea that like if you're a Christian program, you're not going to be as good as the other schools, or like all these ideas of like if you're a Christian, you're going to be less successful in a lot of ways. Like a lot of people kind of think that they're like, oh, it's a Christian school, it's probably not as good as sports,
like in
and
competition and stuff like that.
Yeah, and in just like in other areas and stuff,
Just in
like
life,
you're not going to
Christians
be as
get
like
last.
Christians are poor and things like that. I think one thing that I've learned is like if you put God first, but you also strive for excellence, like you're gonna be like you have a good chance of being great. You know what I mean? So they never kind of settled for not as good because they're an NAIA school. Like Coach T could be coaching anywhere. Coach Clark could be coaching anywhere. He could be a head coach somewhere else. But I think just like this idea of like if you truly put God first and others second, like it's kind of funny because I've heard this I am third thing forever, but Coach T will preach it till the day he dies, and I think I'll preach it till the day I die too. Like if you put God first, others second, yourself third, like you're going to be successful in whatever it is, and it might not look the same way as the world looks, but I think that's the way to true success, and that's the way to find joy in what you're doing. And I think a huge thing I've learned is like this. I grew up playing basketball, and like everyone's like, you got to play mad, you got to get angry and stuff, and I'm just like, that's not who I am. So like throughout playing at Indiana Wesleyan, I realized like there's this joy-fueled aggression that's way more powerful than the anger-fueled aggression. And it's hard for me to get to the anger-fueled aggression. And when I do get there, it's like I'm playing for myself, I think, a lot of times. But if I'm playing with joy, like I'm celebrating my teammate, I'm not worried about how I'm performing. Even if I have a bad game, I don't even realize it because I've been like celebrating my teammates and playing for God and surrendering the outcome.
Wow.
So
that's incredible. I need to hear that. No line. I'm gonna preach that at practice tonight. You know what I mean? Like, cause I get what you're saying. Cause I have seen times where, now in tennis is a little different because we're not like face to face with somebody and you get like mad and stuff like that. But the competition sometimes, as people say, brings the devil out in you because you want to put someone on beneath you, right? You want to elevate yourself above them. But the joy-filled aggression in sports to perform at your best with the talent that God has given you.
Yeah.
Wow.
Because I know I've wrestled with, like, where does competitiveness lie in the Christian realm? You know, I've thought about like, okay, when I play disc golf professionally, I go play a tournament, and I'm wishing my opponents to miss a putt or to hit a tree off the tee and things like that. That way, that I can have a better chance of winning. Like it's this paradox of like I want to do well and win, but I also at the same time want to uplift those that I'm playing against, which is I think even harder than playing with teammates.
Yeah.
Because you're wanting to be for your teammates, but how do you I guess in your experience, how do you lift up the other team if that's even possible? I don't even know.
Yeah. I don't know if I have a good answer for that one because I think when you're competing against someone, I don't think you necessarily have to be like super kind to them. Like, but I think there's like this level of like when you're on the court or like in the arena or whatever it is, like you're in that and you're not worried about the other team. I think like I don't know if I'm worried about the other team like being nice
Right.
to them. I think there's a sportsmanship. Like I'm not the type to talk trash, but I'm also not the type to say it's wrong to talk trash. I think like there's a place for talking trash in sports to a certain extent. Like there is a extent where it's not good. But yeah, but once you're off the court or whatever, like I think you treat someone like a human being, you treat them well, and I don't know. But competitiveness is an interesting subject because like you look at like Michael Jordan and like how he would take things personal and like hate people and stuff like that. Like it's a whole different thing, but yeah, everybody
Wow.
else has got their way of being competitive, but
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
that's something I've wrestled with. Competition. I mean, you look at it. My worst moments are competition. I'm sure,
Mhm.
like maybe you could agree with that. Where you're like, dang, I shouldn't have said that. But
Mhm.
then also seeing the beauty in like when you go out play, say at practice, you guys are getting into it. You could talk trash with each other to get each other going.
Yeah.
But you know it's all love in the
Yeah.
end, where you have no ill intent towards them, and that's just like you guys are getting better together,
Yeah.
which is beautiful.
I think it's a good example of like brotherhood. Like even like out of sports, like you should be able to offend your brother like with the truth or whatever it is.
Yeah.
If you're just soft on like in practice, if we're just like super soft on each other, like you're not necessarily making each other better. So I think it's a good parallel.
Yeah, that's very good. So what like with being a worshipman and stuff like that and seeing that the Lord could be leading you to go play professionally. And what do you do with obviously your kind of ministry there would be the team, but how does that look in like another culture? You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because at first, maybe compare the two at the beginning when you first came to worship men and then now being overseas. Did you ever see yourself going overseas at all?
I think I did. I think I questioned a bit, like, am I even called to play basketball after college? Things like that. And just like playing for the same program for 5 years, like I've loved it, but at the same time, it's like it's a long time to play for the same program. So I think there's like I'm looking forward to playing overseas, and I think like the cool thing about it is like the cultures you get to be a part of. So like your point with like ministry and stuff, what it looks like I have no idea. Like I've never been to Europe or anything
Mhm.
like that. I've never been to Australia or China or anything like that. So like I think one thing I'll take with me is like exegeting the culture. I'm
Oh,
just
yeah.
gonna observe, and you know if there's opportunities for ministry, I'm gonna see what they're doing and like what's effective, and I don't know,
Yeah.
and then be authentic with who I am when I minister to people,
Hmm.
and not try to. I think one thing I've struggled with a lot is like insecurity, like looking at even the fellow guys in our cohort and fellow women in our cohort, like, man, I wish I was as smart as them, or I wish I was like as passionate as them, or like outgoing, or like whatever it is. But I want to just be confident in like ministering from who I am, because I'm going to be in an environment where I could be the only Christian. And I think like if I just authentically create relationships, I don't have to be like minister to people necessarily. I just have to walk alongside people, have conversations, and obviously I want to get involved in churches if I can over there. But I think
Yeah.
just ultimately just creating relationships.
Wow. That's such a good example of I think many times I'm thinking of if somebody else was in your position of really wrestling with this idea of going overseas and being like, you know, if I don't hear a direct yes or no from God, like I'm not making a decision or something like that. And I
Mm.
love your attitude where it's like, I have a gift. I can go play and do ministry over there. It's the whole mentality of wherever I go, I'm gonna do ministry.
Mm.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? It doesn't matter where you are. It's where
Mhm.
your feet are, that's where you do
Mm.
the mission.
You
Yeah.
know?
Did that like? I know obviously you felt like called to ministry. Like, how did that develop into you thinking, okay, I think I'm gonna go overseas? Was it just like I'm gifted, I'm just gonna go, or like what did that look like?
Um, I think just God's given me like just different gifts, like whether it's in ministry or basketball and art and stuff. And I feel like a lot of times I saw them on like separate tracks, like separate parts of my life. And I'm just trying to let them like melt together. You know what I mean? So like basketball, I feel called to ministry, but like if I wait for my opportunity to go to ministry, once I can go into full-time ministry, I'm just gonna waste so many opportunities. So I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna have this time where I'm getting education to like spring me off into the next thing, but I don't have to get a job in ministry to use those things. So I'm gonna try to just use the things I've learned, and just authentically live it out. And I'm gonna try to find opportunities to like formally minister to people, because like when you play a sport professionally, like there's only so many hours in a day where you can go hard on that sport, and there's gonna be a ton of other time where I can, get involved in the community. And I've heard a lot of people like will start foundations when they're professionals overseas and stuff. So I'm just gonna try to get as involved as possible and not just waste my time like relaxing after practice and stuff or
Yeah.
whatever it is. So.
How have you? Because I know at least some guys that have gone overseas to play and are Christians. Some that come from IWU, right?
Mhm.
I don't know if you've been in contact with them, but your brother, for example, what has there been anything you've like learned from them or asked them that may have been like good advice from them on how to do that?
Yeah. So yeah, I know like Kyle Mangus is over there. Evan, my brother Evan, just went to Lithuania. He's gonna play in the same league as Kyle, which is cool. He just left the other day.
Wow.
Michael Thompson is a former teammate. Kanan Coffey is
Michael
overseas.
Thompson's overseas
Yeah,
too?
he's in Portugal. Kanan
Wow.
Coffey, I think, is in Germany this
Yeah.
year. So yeah, I haven't had a chance to like really talk too much with everybody, but I know my brother just like he would probably just say like the creating relationships and having conversations and not being afraid to talk about things, because there's a good chance you'll be at this place for 1 year and then kind of move on and try to move up the leagues and stuff. So like he would just say, don't waste your opportunity there. Don't look at it selfishly like this is to advance my career, but just like be present there. I think that's one thing that I've struggled with is like people like moving on to different things. Like sometimes I'm afraid to create a deep relationship because I'm like, I'm just gonna move away and it's like not gonna be the same. But that's something I want to grow in, is just like not be afraid to go deep with somebody, and not be afraid that they're gonna leave. But I think that's a huge part of just life in general, is like looking at the person you might never see again and being willing to like really care like what's going on in their life.
How's that been for this year? Because if this being like the last semester with basketball, all that stuff, and moving on after, that's what you're talking about. Like
Yeah.
this is what you're facing now. And your brother said you could face it for the next couple years as you try and move up the leagues.
Yeah.
And so how's that been this semester, being right in your face?
Yeah, I think it's still a struggle for me. I think like just creating deep relationships in a short period of time. But I think the place that I've been called to is my basketball team. So that's one area where I'm trying to cultivate deep relationships, even though I know I'm leaving next year. And then another thing is like Elias taught me really well to see the person who like is a loner, or see the person who maybe struggling or whatever it is, like see the person who is just there, who they're not going to approach you, but you like if you approach them. And I'm like a super introvert, so like I like to just like go my own way and like but if I can see that person who's kind of sitting alone or something and reach out to them, that's something I want to grow into.
Wow.
And I have grown because of Elias.
Hey.
Like Elias just does it all the time.
Yeah.
I'm like, I want to be more like you in that area.
Yeah.
So.
Talking about Elias, I mean, we hear from Noah from that story from the beginning. How has she like, going through dating and since you've known her and then into marriage, how has she played a part, obviously, in like not just your call, but your life as God is growing you? Because as He's growing you, like the call is going with that, what He's leading you to. And so how has she played a part in that?
Yeah. The first thing that comes to mind is I think a huge part of my testimony is like emotions. And I grew up being a super emotional kid. Like I would cry about things and I'd be like super angry about things. And then came a point in high school where I just was like, I don't think this is effective. I'm just going to like shut down my emotions. And I started like every time I'd feel anger, I'd just push it down and be like, and just try to cover it up. And I think Elias has really helped me like get rid of that, like masking emotions and pushing it down and just like talking about them and identifying them. Cause I got to this point where I'd feel anxiety and I didn't know what it was or like what it was coming from. And now I'm at a point where like I feel something in my chest and I'm like, God, I don't know what this anxiety is about. Like praying about it and letting it out, or like talking to Elias about it. So I think been a huge part of my story with Elias, is like her pushing me to be an emotional person, because I can't operate at my fullness if I don't experience the sadness, if I don't experience the
All
anger.
of it.
Otherwise, I'm just gonna be like this numb person.
Robot.
I've been that. So like I'm even growing in that now, is like, how do I operate in the fullness of who God created me to be, in all the emotions, whether they're good or bad? Like, how do I take them to him rather than like just masking them? And if you mask things, they just like grow bigger inside you, and then they just kind of blow up at some
Yeah.
point. And
Absolutely.
so
Yeah, I was thinking of I don't know if people listen to NF too much, but NF has like a quote in his songs talking about like the things I have, I tried to bury, I try to push it down, but it comes back worse,
mhm.
and it grows down there and all those
Yeah.
things.
And like, we're about to do this paper on anger and stuff, and I
Yeah.
think it's really interesting. But like, anger is not explicitly bad. Like, anger can be a good thing, and that's something that I was like, oh, I didn't even really understand that. Like, so I was pushing it down like it was a bad thing. But whether I'm pushing down good anger or bad anger, like, it's gonna just like, I'm gonna feel it like subconsciously, and it's gonna
Yeah.
build up.
Yeah.
So
Whether you push down good or bad anger, it's gonna turn into
Yeah.
a bad thing. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna reap horrible consequences. And
yeah.
dude, the other day I was talking with a friend, and I was reminded of something that I was taught in high school. And a good way to understand anger is it's a defense of something you love.
Mm-hmm.
Easy way to understand
yeah.
it. And so
Yeah.
why are you angry about something? It's because somebody's attacking, or something, whatever, is attacking something you love or
Yep.
someone.
Mm-hmm.
And the more you love something, the greater like capacity of anger you have, right?
Mm.
For example, with you, I know like things like this would anger you, like somebody getting mistreated. That would anger me too. But if somebody mistreated Elias, the capacity for your
Yep.
anger is greater, right?
Yeah.
So it's a good way to identify where your anger is coming from
Yeah.
based on what you love.
Yeah.
And I remember, so you talked about Elias and like how she's been such a prominent role in your development, not just spiritually, but also like emotionally. I remember asking a buddy of mine that just got married. I said, "Hey, what has marriage taught you the most? Like, what's a piece of advice that you've got from marriage that you'd like to give to me?" I'm always wanting to ask these kind of questions. And he said, "I'm gonna be honest, marriage just sanctifies you faster." And I was like, that's not what I was looking for. Like, I want like something like staggered out that I could just easily like do. And he's like, no. It sanctifies you faster. And I just like got to ponder on that and think about that for a while. And that's like, I can see Elias and how you guys' healthy marriage has continued to do that and sanctify you and her both.
Yeah.
And with the time that we have left, I just want to ask from your story, from where God's moved in the past and now, and where he's gonna move in the future when you go somewhere overseas to play basketball. What's the piece of advice that you've come to be like, yeah, this is good and I want to share this?
Man, I knew you were gonna ask this question earlier, and I think I had some on my mind. I think just being okay with not being an expert on things, and always be willing to grow. But also, like, I think a huge part of like my story is just like feeling inferior, like not good enough. So I'd say being okay with that, being like almost like finding joy in that, and like freedom in the fact that you're not going to be enough, and you're not going to know enough, and you're never going to be prepared enough. But like God is the one who's makes you sufficient. He's the one that gives you the words to speak when you don't have the words to speak. He's the one that allows you to work through your emotions when you have no capacity for doing that. Whatever it is, like, I just want to be okay with being not enough. And I'd say that to other people, like, always be a learner. Because if you start, I think there's one, I don't want to get in this too much, but like, we've been learning as a team, like, these two senses of pride. There's one where you think you're like too good for things, but then there's this other one where you don't think you're good enough. That's
Dang.
pride just as much. And that's the one, like, you want to think like, oh, that's the more righteous
That's
side
humility.
to be at. Yeah, it's humility, but it's not at all. It's pride. So I think there's this balance of like, don't think you're too much, but don't think you're too little. Like, Paul says, like, I don't care what other people think about me. Like, they're not my judge, but I also don't care what I think about myself. And that's like a whole nother level. Like,
Bars.
Wow.
like if you can find freedom from what other people think, which a lot of people like, that's a good concept. But if you find freedom from what you think, like there's this whole other freedom that you have, and you can just rely on what God thinks of you. I think there's just so much freedom in that.
That is a lot of freedom. And it's kind of funny that you bring that up, because I had a conversation with somebody the other day as well about this idea of, when we're down in the dumps, when we just think we're the worst person ever, whenever that is, just in the valley, it's like we don't even want to go before God because we're like, we're so unworthy. We are so inferior, all these things. But then it's like, when we think we're doing the right things, I have no problem running in there.
Yeah.
It's having the same, neither are like good, but entering in with that humble mindset of like, I am not worthy to be here, but still God has me here. And so I'll listen to what he has to say about me. And what you said, that's so good. Speaking about, because I hear so many times, everybody will get on the back of, don't let what other people say about you define you. What you say, that's what people say. Is like, we don't even agree with that.
Yeah. It's like believe in yourself, like you have it within you.
Oh my goodness, don't get me on that motivational stuff. Oh
and
my
like
days.
the whole, what's your identity? All of those questions. This is who I'm made to be. Like, no, like read the scriptures. That's where you'll find where your identity comes from.
I'm a son. Yeah, who's with me?
Seth, thank you so much for sharing your story with us. I know, like, I think half the time I was just checked out thinking about something he said like 20 minutes ago, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so good. I'm like, oh gosh, I gotta listen. I'm like, you just speak wisdom when you speak, especially because you don't always talk that much. So when you do,
hold it in,
yeah,
blurt it out
and it all
once.
just comes out at one time. And when you do, I want to listen to it. And I think you have that special capability. And I'm excited to hear about what you do overseas, because I know it's going to be intentional and authentic. And so thank you so much for just taking the time. I know you're busy, man. It's like the end of basketball season, which means everything's picked up. Not to mention all the homework that we have to do as well.
Yeah, we know about that.
That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah. So thank you for taking the time. And for those that are listening, stay tuned. We got more episodes coming out. And sometimes Isaac and I don't even know who we're going to get on the podcast. So it's just it's a treat on who's going to be our guest. So we'll catch you guys next week.
Appreciate it, guys.
Adios.
We'd also like to take a second to thank the School of Theology and Ministry at Indiana Wesleyan University for using their facilities. We want to thank the Call Collective for producing all of our podcasts. The Call Collective seeks to equip the next generation of ministry leaders. To find out more information, visit thecalledcollective.org or check us out on Instagram @thecalledcollective. Thanks for listening again and taking time in your day to have the chance to be formed by the conversations we have over coffee. See you guys next week.